Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good day to every present. My name is Siti Nurlanatika binti Muhammad Hanafi with no matric E23A2839. Today, we present to the finding of my mini project titled Flood Resolution and Mitigation Strategies, a case study from College Terengganu. Next, I will go through the introduction. This study focused on flood resiliency and mitigation strategies in Kuala Terengganu, a coastal city in Malaysia prone to frequent and severe flooding, especially during the northwest monsoon. Rapid urban development, low-lying terrain, and poor planning have increased the risk of flooding in key areas like Kuala Nerus, Batu Rakit, and Pegadang Bulu. Current flood control efforts are mostly reactive, lacking accurate, up-to-date spatial data to support proactive planning. The objective of this study are to identify and map flood-prone zone using GIS and remote sensing, analyze contributing factors like rainfall, slope, soil, and land use, propose both structural and non-structural mitigation measures, support urban planning and disaster preparedness. This research is limited to riverine and coastal flooding, uh, in Kuala Terengganu, excluding flash flood. The results are expected to help authorities, communities, and planners make better decisions for flood risk reduction and future development. Next, we're moving on to literature review. Several researchers have studied flood mapping using GIS and remote sensing, especially in Asia. Study by Al-Sheikh and Zulkifli show that combining data like elevation, rainfall, land use, and soil improve flood risk prediction. The main causes of flooding include intense rainfall, low-lying terrain, drainage system, and rapid development without proper planning. To manage flood risk, first study suggests using a combination of structural and non-structural. Structural such as drainage system, flood wall, seawall, irrigation basin, and for non-structural like lane zoning, early warning, sys- early warning system, and public education. One interesting idea is from Sunny et al., who proposed floating building as an innovative solution in coastal flood zones. Overall, in literature highlight the importance of integrating flood maps into planning policy so that we move from reactive response to proactive management. Now, I will go through to expected results. This study is expected to produce five main outputs. First, flood resiliency map. A detailed flood risk map of Kuala Terengganu divided into very high, moderate, low, and very low zone. Very low risk zone. Second, second key risk factor. The most influential factor will be identified and ranked using the analytic hierarchy process AHP. Rainfall and flood terrain are expected to be a top contributor. Third, 3D visualization. 3D visualization. A 3D terrain model using ArcScene will simulate how flood water flow and accumulate. Fourth, mitigation proposal. Structural and non-structural strategies will be recommended based on the severity of risk in each zone. Fifth, urban planning support. The data will help the local government plan flood resilient development and update their disaster response strategies. Now, I will explain the methodology used in this study. The research applied a case study approach using quantitative spatial analysis with support from GIS and remote sensing technique. The main software used include ArcGIS for spatial analysis and map generation, ArcScene for 3D terrain visualization, ArcSWOT for hydrological simulation. The spatial data collected include custom dam for slope and elevation, land use maps, rainfall and soil data, drainage network. All data we process and analyze using weighted overlay and analytic hierarchy process (AHP) to produce a plot risk map. Now, I will explain the overall flow of my research, which shows the sequence of steps taken from the beginning until the completion of the study. Each stage was designed carefully to ensure that the research is systematic, valid, and produce reliable results. First, I will go to the literature review. The research began with a literature review to explore past study on flood risk mapping, GIS, and remote sensing and mitigation strategies. This step help identify knowledge gap and from a solid base for the research. Next, after the literature review, I proceed the spatial data collection. The data gathered. The data include rainfall data, both historical and recent, to detect flood trends. Soil data, which affect how water is absorbed or run off. Land use and land cover, to analyze the impact of urban development. Called digital elevation model, then to evaluate topography and slope. Fifth, hydrological and drainage network data to study water flow path. All these datasets were obtained from government agency and open access sources. Next is GIS and remote sensing processing. Once the data was collected, I moved to the data processing using GIS and remote sensing technique. The involved three main tasks. First is a reclassification of terrain, land use, and slope to standardize the layer. Second, weight assignment using the analytic hierarchy process (AHP) or literature-based value to determine how much each factor contribute to flow risk. Uh, uh, Third is weighted overlay analysis, where the data layers are combined to generate flood hazard. Next, flood risk zonation mapping. The next step is to develop the flood risk zonation mapping. Classify the study area into 5 risk level: very high, moderate, low, and very low. Then validate the map by comparing it with historical flood event data to ensure its accuracy. This map provided a clear spatial understanding of where the most valuable areas are. Next, 3D terrain modeling or ArcScene. After that, I use ArcScene for 3D terrain modeling. This step helped to visually simulate how flood water would accumulate and flow across the terrain during heavy rainfall events. The 3D model provided a more intuitive and realistic view of flood dynamic, which is useful for planner and emergency. Next, mitigation strategy development. Based on the flood zone identified, I propose mitigation strategies tailored to the level of risk. First is structural strategy include construction of levels, improve drainage system and retention basin to control water flow. And non-structural strategies include zoning regulation to restrict development in high-risk areas and early warning system to improve preparedness. And the last step is report writing and submission. That brings me to the end of my presentation. I hope the research has provided a clear understanding of how GIS and remote sensing can support flood risk management in coalition government by identify high risk area and proposing suitable mitigation strategies. This study aims to contribute to safer, more resilient urban planning. Thank you very much for your attention. I truly appreciate your time interesting.